Somebody big just died. Football legend, movie star, community activist, civil rights activist. Jim Brown has died at the age of 87. My name is Aldo Gandia, and here to eulogize Jim Brown is Mike North. Mike, how are you?
I can't believe we're doing the show. I'm so happy to see my buddy Aldo Gandia, ladies and gentlemen. He had an episode. I'll let him tell you what happened. But
yeah, we could say it. I had a TIA, a minor stroke that affected my vision, but I'm back at it.
I wanted to make sure that you gave out that information.
Thank you, Mike.
Correct, because you know me. I'm a stickler for correct information. And yeah, Mr. Stickler, they call me. It's on my business card. But it's so good to see you, buddy. I was worried about you. Me and B were worried about you. Donna, God bless. And I saw your wonderful message on Twitter. Go to North of the Bar Room and check it out. There's Aldo, and there's Aldo smiling, laughing with a picture behind him. And there's Donna, beautiful Donna, as I like to call her, in a picture where it's, I think, replaceable because it's staring right at me. It's easy on my guy, Mike.
That's right.
Well, it's not up to us, and it's good to have him back because we've often joked about this. It's no fun dying.
That's right.
But you know what? There's no show without the two of us, basically.
That's right. And if you are going,
you got to look close for a while.
Right. I told Donna that when I go, we got to go to Cumberland Chapels and have our services there.
Cumberland Chapels, and then afterwards at Pennyville Station.
That's right.
I mean, look, we're not ashamed. We know what's happening in here. We know we could go at any day. We know we're on borrowed time, but we also know a segue into the sponsors. That's what we know. That comes first. And Tino Antonacci, God bless, was worried about you. The Lupos at Cumberland Chapels were worried about you. Me and BB were worried about you. Just a lot of people, the bar room people, you got a lot of messages. So I'm sure you're very, quite frankly, when I get a message, any kind of message, I pop champagne. That's me. You know what I mean? But when you do get messages, you hear from people maybe you didn't think you'd hear from, and it's very, very good.
It is indeed. I was touched by the outpouring of well wishes, and I appreciate it very much. Yep. And so now let's talk about Mr. Jim Brown.
Yeah, Jim Brown. Let me just say this. I was at the National Italian Sports Hall of Fame years ago, and they had an auction. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those auctions that silent auction and live auction. And there was a lot of impressive people there, and I got to meet them. Jim Bocover, Danny Marino, all the great Italian boxers would show up, just guys that you haven't even heard of for a long time from, just guys that were great. And then there's other people that would show up, Tony Zale, boxing legends, Vito Anafermo, I just saw a Jim Brown helmet on the table. And I saw it was signed by Jim Brown. Mm-hmm. Now, at first you're suspicious, especially when there's a guy named Lucky selling it to you. You know what I mean? Yes. But then there's a picture of Jim Brown with signing a helmet. Okay. not this helmet, but he signed more than one helmet in his, he used to sign helmets
Oh, sure.
and donate things. So I got the Jim Brown helmet. I was looking for today's show, but apparently, when we moved, we put a lot of stuff in storage. It's in there. And I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon because he was, look, I don't care. We could talk Peyton, we could talk Brown. I always liked Walter as the greatest all-around back, but you can't discuss what Jim Brown did.
Oh, yeah.
Although there's some people that could say Jim Brown played during the era where there was plumbers. Nobody brings that up. If the NBA had plumbers, so did the NFL. Guys that went to work, as soon as training camp opened. They had, Doug Buffone owned bars. Okay, my own friend owned bars and did broadcasting, but it was bars, And then during the football season, he had people watch for him. I mean, that's just Dan Jiggets. Was a banker. Danny was a banker.
I didn't know that.
Oh well, the monsters. Some things are we like to keep things close. No, he wasn't. He had brought it up. Danny was a financial guy. I think he could have been governor. Okay, but these guys all had jobs. Okay, Walter Payton owned bars, for God's sake. Jim McMahon, I know, was sidelines, but it's not sidelines when the bar don't go.
Yeah.
Or when it's bankruptcy and your name's attached to it. There's always some sort of risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jim Brown would have excelled in any era. And I'll tell you why. I did much research on Jim, and I saw that Jim Brown in basketball in high school averaged 38 points a game.
Wow.
Okay. 6'2" and 232 pounds. Now, Dick Butkus, who broke in as Brown was retiring, weighed 235.
Wow.
So Jim Brown was as big as the linebackers back. He was bigger than Jack Lambert at 220. He was bigger than a lot of guys. So that's another thing that's never broke. He was like LeBron, a physical freak against lesser beings. When it goes to go into the hoop, look, I don't care what you say about LeBron James. I'm not taking a charge against him. Okay? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, and then Jim Brown becomes a lacrosse player. He's the best lacrosse player who maybe ever lived. They changed rules. They used to have a rule. Aldo's going, God, Mike prepared like I wasn't going to be here. And no, I didn't. And you have the lacrosse thing. You can balance the ball back in the day on the short end of your stick.
Right.
Then they changed the rule because of Jim Brown that you had to move it all the time. You used to be able to keep the sticks and balance it. I could do that for at least 3 seconds. So laughter's what it's all about. Isn't it?
It really is. Thank you for that.
Especially with the hair day I'm having. Anyway, so then I got a haircut. Thanks, Monica.
It's beautiful. I like it.
Well, thank you, Bill. Yours looks good too. Although I looked at a picture of us from about 2018. Holy Christ! Me and you look like we went. We're just saying that was close. Anyway, then he goes and plays football. He meets people to help him get in. He didn't stay at Syracuse in the athletic dorm. He stayed in a non-athletic dorm without the rest of the team, but he fought that his whole life. He did. So that's why I consider guys like Jack Johnson, Jackie Robinson, Jim Brown, guys that had coaches like Jim Brown did, for instance, that encouraged him to be a punter, a wide receiver. They just talk about they didn't want black quarterbacks. No. A tight end. But they didn't want him to be a running back. Think about that at Syracuse at first.
Wow. Yeah.
Because he was the first black. So he had even his own time. People, when I say people in the same uniform going against him, that's what made him big. And he never seemed to have that much animosity, Aldo. And I think that's the first thing that you got to look at these pioneers. People call people pioneers now. You say one little thing about them and they get bent out of shape. Those guys had to use restraint through other tactics, like I always talk about, navigate. And I think Jim Brown, talk about a guy, he navigated his career so well that after 9 years at the age of 30, said, you know what, Art Modell, if I don't come to training camp, you're going to find me. I quit. I'm not looking back. And I'm to be one of the major black movie stars. And for a generation, one of the major movie stars, okay, going at the time, period.
That is indeed correct, Mike. He was on the set of The Dirty Dozen, and Art Modell issued a sort of a warning. I want Jim Brown here for training camp. And Brown said, no, I think I'm going to retire. I'm going to invest my interest on other things. And so he starred in The Dirty Dozen and later 100 Rifles with Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch.
And he got top billing for that.
Yes, he did.
$125,000.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And younger audiences might remember him in the Tim Burton movie, Mars Attacks. That's him on the right, along with Tom Jones and a bunch of other stars.
It was great.
He was a prolific movie star. And when he made the announcement that he was retiring from football, he also said that he was going to spend time helping African Americans, Black people, become economically independent. And this is one thing that he said, we've got to stop wasting all our energy and money marching and picketing and doing things like camping down in Washington on a poor people's campaign. We've got to get off the emotional stuff and do something that will bring about real change. He told that to Ebony Magazine. And so he started an organization called the Negro Black Economic Council that was later changed the name to the Black Economic Union. And they basically helped Black business owners get up off the ground and start their own businesses and create economic independence.
Well, I'll give you another thing. Me and Dan Jiggets did an interview with Jim Brown, and it's one of the famous interviews, which probably has been destroyed along with the Watergate tapes. Those two things. Because, and we got in a contentious discussion. And I'm not going to say I was totally right now that I look back, but I'm not going to say I was totally wrong. It was one of those discussions, and Jiggs was trying to be balanced too. And I remember he said, which one of you is the white guy? And Jiggs took offense to that. Okay. Wow. And you don't do, Jiggs took offense. And what's even crazier is I took even more offense to that. And then he goes, take it easy, my brother. And people remembered that point of the interview.
He said that to you.
He said that to me. I go, I'm not your brother. I'm not your brother. Not the way this is going. Okay. And
wow.
We ended up on I Take Care class act. I mean, really, at the end, we parted on good terms. It was back in the day called give and take. Okay. That doesn't happen anymore. It's give and take more and then take and take. Well, that's not the way it is. Misrepresentation, no. Because I saw him at the Super Bowl. I don't know which one. I think it was Miami. I went to 17 of them, so they all run together, believe me.
Wow.
And I saw him in the airport, and he was walking. And he had a cane way back when. Sometimes I thought it was for show because it's Jim Brown. He can't be hurt. You know, the fact the guy lived to be 87 is huge. But I went up, said hi to him. He remembered, I remember you. It was good. But let me say this about Jim Brown, too. He lived up in the Hollywood Hills and would broker peace deals with street gangs. Did stuff like go into prisons and start trying to rehabilitate in the worst prisons. Believe me, folks, I was there. I almost went to Vietnam. And I knew what was going on in the 60s. I was there. And at the time, Jabbar, or Lou Alcindor at the time, then changed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then you got Ali. You got Jim Brown. Oh, Bill Russell, a good guy too. They're in their heyday now. They're rolling. So I never took lightly him about money. I think it was dignity. Don't back me up against the wall, Art Modell. Or don't take black athletes or athletes of any color or any kind. Don't take us for granted because I'm Jim Brown.
Yeah.
It's 1961, 62. And I'm sitting at home. as a 9-year-old, I'm into football already. I got football cards, and I'm seeing this, and that's remembered to this day, Aldo. And I think that's the thing we talked about with the Harry Belafonte, and and other guys in their other. I've talked politics. I've risked my neck. I've lost gigs because I step out a little bit. That's the way life is. If you believe in yourself and believe in your principles. And I don't agree with everything Jim Brown did, but you can't deny he's a great American. And I'll give you one more thing, and then let you have the floor for a few minutes before I try to tie this up in a knot. But we should probably have a 5-minute, 5-hour show on.
Yeah, I agree.
He basically told Colin Kaepernick and everybody, wait a minute. I love America. I love the American flag, and you don't kneel and you sing the national anthem. And if Colin Kaepernick wants to tell me, okay, or anybody about their civil rights compared to Jim Brown, I wouldn't buy a Colin Kaepernick helmet. I ended up buying, really, it's an auction, and I spent for it because I love greatness, and that's what Jim Brown is. Great. When you think about him, you'll think positive things. So, that's just one part of the story, my friend.
Well, you're absolutely right. That is just one part of the story, and not all people immediately think about positive things. And so, yesterday when I was looking through social media, I found this from the actress and activist Yvette Nicole Brown. For those deifying Jim Brown, Google his name and the Playboy Mansion. Trust and know that a monster has died. If he didn't want folks to speak ill of him when he died, he should have been a good man when he was here. Argue with your mama. My work here is done. And she went on to provide evidence of news reports and so forth that Mr. Brown was alleged to have beaten a number of women, more than 6 or 7 accusations against him.
That we know of.
That we know of, exactly. And so that's something that he, unfortunately, these allegations, because he was never found guilty of anything. That's
been
something
followed for years, though. It's followed him around like you haven't no deodorant on. You've done a lot of good things. Look, we all been there. We're flawed humans, not in that situation, but we've all made our mistakes.
Sure.
But he made 7 of them that we know of, including throwing one woman off a balcony.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of the charges were dropped, and one of the women eluded terrorism. In other words, you're Jim Brown, you're dealing with prisoners and gangbangers and everything else. And you know them all. Well, you want to go to the police? You want to make me a spectacle? You want to ruin my career? Well, we'll see whose career is ruined. We'll see whose life is ruined. And then he walks out the door. Believe me, folks, he had power, big-time power that dealt with politics, money, and everything else. I love Jim Brown as a football player, okay? But somebody big just died, and one of the reasons is you can't outrun everything. We've had, for the most part, everybody that's died, everybody outside of maybe Raquel Welch and Stella Stevens or some of these other, mostly the females. The guys have had controversy. Robert Blake, for God's sake, Aldo and I could do like somebody big just died and do 5 hours on these guys.
Yeah.
Because the networks did 5 months. Yeah. So, Jim Brown, you're out of line. You know it now. Back then with social media, your career would have not lasted 9 years. But he seemed to do a lot of this after football.
Right.
And when he started meeting all the ladies in Hollywood, and you're Jim Brown, and you're a rugged guy. Fred Williamson. Everybody knows Fred, the Hammer Williamson.
The Hammer, yeah.
Yeah. I interviewed Fred Williamson, and I said, Jim Brown. What about Jim Brown? Fred Williamson was put together, good-looking guy, period. End of story. He at times felt he lost some roles to Jim Brown, like the Dirty Dozen, when Jim Brown came out of nowhere. Fred Williamson was starting to hit the bushes, and he was with the Chiefs at the time. So it's all interesting. In fact, Jim Brown was there before Fred. And Fred, I think, feels that I think Jim Brown opened doors for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he did his own productions and stuff too. So a lot of things came out of good with Jim Brown, but also bad.
Yeah, we've done how many of these now? Almost a dozen or so.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, everyone has led that we featured has led a fascinating life. But I
Oh
can't think
man,
of anyone that has led a more fascinating and interesting and compelling life than Jim Brown. The obstacles that it took for him to become a star running back, as you outlined, his movie career that we've just briefly touched on, a extraordinary movie star. For him to have a role opposite Raquel Welch was such a controversy. A black man and a white woman. You know, some theaters in the South would refuse to play the movie. And then the challenges, well, I shouldn't say challenges, but the accusations made against him.
Well, some of it was true. He wants to sue me. I'm sure I'll
yeah.
but you know what? They were all dropped. So you got, look, if Jim Brown said, if you say anything about me, I'll kill you, I'm not saying anything. All right. Stealing my wallet. Thank you. Right. Oh, yeah, I'm stealing my car and, kicking lotto. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that is one of the things about Jim Brown that always struck me. Yeah, right. Whenever I would see the man,
5'5" actress, and he says, if I hit you one time in the face, you'll be the Elephant Man. What are you doing?
Oh,
come on.
He always had that imposing presence about him.
Oh my God.
You'd see him on a talk show like Dick Cavett or whatever, and he just like engulfed the set. He was just such a presence.
Look, I'm a wisecracking guy. I used to talk myself out of anything. So, but there's things you just don't say. Like, hey, get rid of the goofy hat to Jim Brown, Yeah. You know what I mean? That he kept wearing the African with the African colors. You know what I'm saying? He's got a cane. You know what I mean? Because Jim Brown, I liked him. We talked. Like I said, I met him, bought his helmet. I admire him. But you're right. Mike Tyson, Jim Brown, guys that are intimidating just by meeting him. I met Evander Holyfield. He's the nicest guy in the world. I met Mike Tyson. I said, if I say something wrong, I'll be in a sewer on Harlem Avenue.
That's right.
Okay? That's just the way it is.
Indeed.
All right, well, let's go over his awards. We got NFL champion 1964 with Frank Ryan at quarterback, folks. That's why I do this. I remember these guys. I got them in. I remember Gene Hickerson, Dick Shafraff, Paul Warfield, Dick. They had wide receiver Gary Collins at the wide out. I mean, just great football team. They only did it once. 3-time NFL MVP, 57, 58, and 65, which is great. 58 to 65. That's pretty good. For a running back, Rookie of the Year, 57, 8-time first-team All-Pro, never missed a game. Peyton didn't want to miss a game. We've told that story before. He missed one. Second-team All-Pro, which had to hurt him, 1962. 9-time Pro Bowler, 57 to 65. In fact, in 65, he gets the MVP award, while Sayers gets Rookie of the Year. There was a picture yesterday of Gale Sayers and Jim Brown. That should be a poster that should be sold. They talk about a lot of great running backs. I'll put those two against anybody, including put Jim Brown with anybody, put Walter Payton with anybody. That's the way I look at it. Scoring leader, 58. Scoring leader. So that had to be scoring touchdowns on the all-decade team, the NFL 50th anniversary team, 75th, the 100th, the Cleveland Browns Ring of Honor. Number 32 is retired. Syracuse, number 44, retired. The guy averaged 5.2 yards a carry. Okay. But let me just caution everybody, because they like to talk about, they were big guys. There were some bruisers out there. He did retire when Butkus became a rookie. He said, all right, I'm getting out of here. And he already played Nitschke. I mean, he played some Sam Huff. He played some ferocious guys. But to Jim Brown, hey, 90, I give you a 75, 80% greatness. A lot of us. 7's a lot.
Yeah.
Which equates to 30 or something that didn't get reported in my world. And being a movie star, it just wasn't. Thank God for those years, because if it was now, he would have had some issues. But he did some wonderful things too. He's an American and a flawed American like us all, my friend. And it's good to have you back. Oh, real quick, the Gold Star, we're going to start.
Yes,
The Gold
yes.
Star. Janet Swoboda, I coached her. Husband died about a year ago, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe longer. Double bubble. Janet Swoboda, I coached her in her 20s. We had a great park team. She was the toughest of them all. Just a great lady and a great friend. Dies at the age of 62. Joe Cap, we were off for that. Minnesota, Vikings, Canadian, great star of the longest yard with Burt Reynolds. And Sam Zell, who people were trying to feel sad for Sam, but I think a lot of people were, not nonplussed about it because some people got screwed around by Sam Zell. So it's one of those deals. So, but you know what? Can't deny when you're successful, you pick up two new enemies every day, and there's no doubt he was successful. So, Aldo, that's my deal, baby.
Well, it's great to be back with you
Yes,
doing this show
look at
and
you.
to resume our projects together. So,
Oh, Raul Jewelers, my guy Brad Gams, he says, thank God, like that, because we're getting ready soon with that thing. You're nothing but busy. You know, you're a phenom right now.
I don't know about that. I'm no Jim Brown.
Major league ball player. He'll be back in 3 years. Goodbye, everybody.
That's right.
And an NBA player, we never know.
That's right. So, on behalf of Mike North, I'm Aldo Gandia, and to all of the family and friends and fans of Jim Brown, we offer our condolences. We'll see you next time.